Hello, future Hemant, and it's been quite some time since the last time I uploaded because J exams were coming close and it was about to happen on 21st April, around 20th to 30th April. That was the window for J mains to happen, but they recently delayed it. I mean, I think just day before yesterday. So yeah, until that point, I was studying, and now all of a sudden they delayed it to the end of June, while our board exams were still in the 20th of April, start from 20th of April. So yeah, we already done pre boards, and I scored quite good in those. So not focusing much on pre boards for now. So up, yeah, until day before yesterday, I was studying seriously until JEE mains, and I didn't even think of doing a video back then. But yeah, after it delayed, I think I have quite some time to make a video on another topic which I think of quite a lot. Today's topic will be about vegans, and I'm not a vegan. I won't tell anyone to be a vegan. I won't tell anyone to not be a vegan. This video explains why you probably shouldn't be a vegan, and at the same time defends few of those vegans as well. I believe there are two types of vegans which I'll cover later on, but let me explain first why I don't believe in being a vegan. First of all, like, we are omnivores. We eat both veg and non-veg. That is a biological fact. Whereas vegans, the concept of vegan, where you don't kill animals for food, that's ethical. They take it on an ethical note. So I strongly feel take we shouldn't put ethics in biology. I mean, you can't go around complaining why don't males give birth, or only females giving birth is unethical. You can't argue that. It's biology. That's how we are built. We are built as omnivores. So we function as omnivores. If eating non-veg as an omnivore is wrong, then every crow alive in this world is ethically wrong. Or every omnivore, in fact, that's alive in this world is ethically wrong. That doesn't make sense. You can't bring ethics into something we are built to do. So, and we are not designed to eat only veg. I know there's some people arguing, saying how can chickens and cows live by only eating grass, where we need to depend on meat. Or let's say B12, for example. There's this one guy on TV, a very renowned fellow that my grandfather watches. He says that you need B12. The doctors say, he's going against doctors, saying that doctors say B12 is obtained from animals, from let's say fish, or chicken or cow. I think he said only chicken, but then he said, how do chickens get that B12? My answer to that is they're herbivores. They're designed to eat grass and obtain B12 from it. We are omnivores. We are biologically not designed to do what chickens do, to not digest how chickens digest. Even cows, for example, they have like four stomachs. They chew their food twice and for much longer than we do. Only then they get the nutrients that we get from animals. They are built different. There's no comparing between them and us. And yes, you do lack on all those important vitamins like B12 or whatever comes with animals. The vitamin D also, and major source of protein. Proteins can be covered, but major source. Yeah, that is why I think being vegan is bad for your health, and at the same time is not unethical. It's not a wrong thing to do. That being said, there are two types of vegans, and I support one type, while the other type, I won't say stupid, but is misdirected. And remember one thing, vegan is self harm. You are lacking. I mean, if someone is a vegan, they don't get the nutrients. They're not harming anyone else, and being a vegan does no harm to anyone else. So you have no reason to convince, unless they're close to you or you care about their health. There's no reason for you to call a stranger stupid for being vegan or criticizing them for being vegan. And at the same time, I'll explain later on why not being a vegan also doesn't hurt the world. It doesn't do much of damage. It's not ethically wrong, as I just said. So, yeah, so going into the types of vegans, there are two types of vegans: type 1, type 2. Type 1 are the people who made this personal vow to themselves that they won't harm animals again. They see eating meat as a way of harming animals. These are the kind of people who've probably seen a chicken or goat being murdered, and the next day they eat the flesh of the very same animal they saw being murdered, and they got moved by the way animals are tortured. They couldn't emotionally handle it, and that's how they decided to be a vegan. And since that effect is quite strong, and they have been vegan for quite some time, they decided to continue with it since they don't have a problem with being vegan. That kind of makes sense. Even I think when I was 5, I think I remember when I was in my hometown, I remember seeing a goat. That we were getting a goat to eat mutton the next day. The goat was in a house. I mean, I patted it and I even fed it some grass or something. That when I was 5, long time ago. And the next day, I saw it dead, slaughtered on the floor. I cried. Yeah, my parents tell me I cried like mad, and I don't think I don't think I enjoyed the mutton that day. So that kind of makes sense. Like it's emotionally disturbing for those like who are very bothered by that kind of thing. And yes, animals do feel pain when they're killed. The chicken or mutton you get here, the animals that are killed, they don't die instantly. What they do is chop it by the neck, the front of the neck, but not all the way. So the spinal cord is still intact. When they chop it, the head comes out like that. I remember seeing, even like 2 years ago or something, I saw it being chopped live. I saw the goat being chopped live. I won't describe it. I won't describe it. So, but the spinal cord's still intact because it's hard to cut. So it doesn't die an instant painless death. It's still, the spinal cord still connects the brain to the rest of the body, so it still feels pain, and it does stay alive for about a minute. That minute, the last minute of its life, it keeps kicking. It just keeps kicking. It just keeps kicking, and then until it finally stops, blood keeps coming out of the thing. So yeah, they do feel pain, and that's why I agree with type 1 kind of people. So what they're doing makes sense from their perspective. And these type 1 people who eat on their choice, who get influenced by that and eat, these people don't go around convincing others to be vegan. I've never seen a type. I've seen quite a few type 1 and type 2 kind of people. I don't see this type 1 going and convincing others to be vegan. They just mind their own business. Whenever someone asks them if you're vegan, they just say yeah, and they'll and if you ask them more, they'll probably explain the killing incident and why they can't stand it. And it makes sense. Like every time, if those people are moved by that kind of incidents, every time they eat meat, they get the feeling of being disturbed. Like they replay those moments in their head, and they don't want to get reminded by the horrific killing of animals. So they won't enjoy it even if they eat meat. So it makes sense for them to not eat meat, since they won't enjoy it if they eat it. So type 1 makes sense. And these kind of people aren't hardcore vegans. They won't be fully vegan, like avoiding all sorts of products like dairy and milk or something. They'll still drink milk, and they're not hardcore vegans. They won't follow it very strictly. So Yeah, that's also, so their health is not adversely affected. Yeah, those vegans I agree with, but then there's the type 2 vegans. These are the ones you commonly see on the net or whatever. They think being a vegan doesn't affect your health. They think being a vegan helps the world, and they think not being a vegan is bad. I mean, it's unethical. I've explained why it's not unethical. It's just about, it's the way we're built. First of all, it doesn't make much of a difference. Like, if you stop eating meat, it doesn't save the world, or it doesn't save the world or anything. It's just a matter of supply and demand. So let's say the four people buying 3 kgs of meat. Each of them buys 3 kgs of meat, and the factory produces 12 kg of meat for them. If one of them, if one of them becomes a vegan, now these three will buy 3 kgs of meat. The factory still produces 12 kgs of meat. So the amount of cows being bred and killed, it still remains the same if only a few amount of people turn vegan. What happens is, since not all the meat's being bought, they reduce the price. And the three people who now see the reduction in price will buy more meat. So the three people will buy 4 kgs of meat, and the factory will continue selling 12 kgs of meat. Do you see, like, in the last few years, many people have turned vegan? Have you seen any animal factories being shut down? No, right? And have you? And if you have a whole factory running, why would you slow it down? So the amount of animals actually being killed doesn't change. It's just the supply that changes. And a lot of people in UK, after turning vegan, the demand on avocados grew high, which is a staple food in South African countries, in African countries. So when the demand goes high, the price becomes high for them, and avocados, which is their staple where their staple diet, becomes expensive. They'll have to find for alternatives. So even, yeah, that's the effect when a large group of people turn vegan. So when a small group of people turn vegan, makes no difference. When a large group of people turn vegan, it harms someone else. Let's take the same example of four people. If all the four people stop eating meat at the same time, the factory will have no one to sell it to and would shut down. If they shut down, they won't get money. If they won't get money from meat, then they won't feed the cows that live under them. And if that happens, then all the cows die of hunger. Cows or chickens or whatever is being grown. And dying slowly, or as days pass by over hunger, tortures the animals much more than being killed instantly, even being chopped by the neck. Because if you're chopped, you only live for like a minute. You only suffer for like a minute. If you die of hunger, you suffer for days. So, and also, it changes. If a large scale of people turns vegan, as I told in the avocado example, it changes the supply demand. And again, if all of them convert at a time, the demand grows exponentially high, and again, it affects some part of people, including animals. So now avocados price grew in Africa. They'll find other ways of, they'll the guys who grow avocado will grow more avocados. For that, they'll expand their farmland. They'll cut farms that hurts the ecosystem, including the animals that live in it. So that hurts the animals. And let's say the guys who buy avocados, now they realize the price is high, so they'll resort to other means of food, which will include more meat. So that again hurts animals. So those people who think they're making a difference aren't really making a difference. If a small group of vegans convert, no change. If a huge group of vegans convert, again the demand and supply changes. It will adversely affect not only animals but also everyone else. Also, about the ethical part, I have one more point to say. Plants feel hurt too. When you chop a plant off, it feels hurt. It does feel hurt. Just because it doesn't move doesn't mean it doesn't feel the hurt. Then you vegans can argue by saying, if you don't eat plants, what do we eat? Say, you can say the same thing for animals. If you don't eat let's say this XY animal, then what non-veg will we eat? And non-veg is necessary for a few of the vitamins, and that we omnivores depend on. So yeah, and one more reason about, yeah, and there's another problem with the type 2 vegans is that they think they're making a difference. I mean, see, when you do something that doesn't affect any way of how things work, and you think you're making a difference, that stops you from doing something that's actually useful. For example, take I'll take in ex for an example, I'll take my home itself. Every year we use a very huge heater that, if you on for 5 minutes, it's bigger, it's very huge, it's bigger than a bucket. So if you on it for 5 minutes, just 5 minutes, it can heat up to 30 liters of water. But it's like, it's very old, it's a very old appliance and uses a lot of electricity. The three members of my family, they're very conscious about they're conscious about saving electricity and all that. So whenever I'm not like that, I always leave the light on wherever I go. Like if I go to the bathroom, come out, I leave the light on. If I go out of the room to come back 1 hour later, I leave the light on. I leave the light on and go. Those three, when they roam around the house, they switch off the light here and there. I've calculated I've calculated this. If you take a 12-watt lamp, if you take a 12-watt light and you off it, you switch it off every day to save 5 minutes of usage. If you do that for every day of your life, you barely save 180 rupees of electricity. That's not even $3 of electricity. Because 12 watts means that it uses um 0.012 units of electricity every hour. So if you use it for if you're saving it for 5 minutes, then 5 minutes, so that's a twelfth of an hour. So you're saving 0.001 unit of electricity every day, and 1 unit comes at a price of 7 rupees. That And you live around 25,000 days in your life, so that explains why it's only 187 rupees. I When I turn off, I the geyser I told the other family members use it. I have a very high metabolism, so summer times like now, I can't handle the heat. I feel suffocated. I feel like I'm almost gonna faint of a heat stroke if I use hot water on a summer. So usually I take a bath. I go stand in the shower with full cold water, no heater or anything. It's damn refreshing, and as soon as I'm finished with the bath, I go stand under the fan with full speed. So I usually in winters I leave the geyser on for a long time, but in summers I don't use it at all. So in these 3 months especially, the electricity bill, only by me not using the geyser, that's the only change in our electricity usage. Rest all we use the same. In fact, in summer we turn the fan on for more periods of time. So by turning off the geyser in these 3 months, our electricity bill goes down by 500 rupees every month. That's 1,500 rupees in 3 months every year. To save 1,500 rupees, save 1,500 rupees by turning off the lights, you'll have to live for 8 lifetimes, and that I'm doing in 3 months. See how much you want to save or how much you want to impact has no doesn't affect the world. How much you actually save impacts the world. Same thing with vegans. They're doing the light off thing. They're doing something that's similar to switching off the light. They stop eating meat, and yes, so the meat consumption would go a little down, but it's not that much. It's barely anything. It's just a matter of supply and demand. So if the meat just sells for cheaper if a few people stop buying it, and the remaining meat will be bought by others since it's cheaper. It'll be bought more. So they put effort into being a vegan, which makes no difference at all. And when there's a chance that when they can actually contribute to, animals having a better play. Let's say like giving food to street dogs, or giving vaccines to animals. They won't do it because they have the feeling of doing enough. They feel by being a vegan you're contributing enough to the environment. So not only does it misdirect them, it also stops them from doing anything useful. That also being there. So yeah, type 2 vegans are not only type 1 vegans are the harmless ones. They don't affect anyone in any way. They just do self harm to themselves by not getting the necessary vitamin. But type 2, it actually makes them contribute lesser to the society than what a normal person does. And at the same time they think that they're doing a lot of work, whereas we are being evil. These type 2 people are the ones that piss off everyone. These type 2 people go around, let's say near meat stores, and say, "Stop being vegan, stop being vegan." They wear full vegan shirts and all. They look weird at people who aren't vegan and stuff. So yeah, but what happens is that when we see vegans as a whole, it's the type 2 ones that are loud, and we when they start shouting on all of us, we start to hate both the types. We hate the type 1 and type 2, but in reality it's only the type 2 that's doing it's only the type 2 that actually you shouldn't hate any type, but yeah, usually people develop hatred to both types, and they just don't like anyone who's vegan. They find anyone who's vegan as stupid, whereas in reality it's only the type 2 people that are wrong. Yeah, so my final take back is, don't be a vegan. You can't convince others to stop being a vegan. Vegans can't convince others to be a vegan, because both sides aren't doing anything harmful. So it's not, type 2 vegans might be a little harmful, but yeah, you can't force them to stop being a vegan. Yeah, I mean, they can still eat whatever they want. So you have no right to stop them. They have no right to stop you. And respect the type 1 people. Don't look at the same way you look at type 2 people. Don't look at them the same way you look at type 2 people. And yeah, and also, if you're a vegan for a long time, let's say if you've stopped eating all this meat or what, since uh, let's say after you're grown up, when you're 20 or 25 or something, and if you stop eating it for the rest of your life, if you've done it for a long time, then it's pretty comfortable. Then people who say that, oh, you can't be a vegan for a long time, they are also kind of wrong. But I believe that you shouldn't stay away from drinking milk and all during your early years. Let's say when you're growing up, or when you're like 3 4 years, just for the sake. Though you shouldn't give up all sorts of animal products, like when you're at a young age itself, milk especially. So that's harmful for your health, because milk provides a lot of calcium, and you need a lot of calcium in your growing years. So just for the sake of something ethical, that you shouldn't mix with biology. If you just for the sake of saving animals, if you don't drink milk, you won't have that developed. You'll have problems in later on in life, and to counter those problems, you'll take vitamin supplements that come from minerals that damage the environment even more. That'll harm you and the environment as a whole. If many people start taking those mineral medicines, to extract those medicines again harms the environment. So yeah, that's all I had to say about being a vegan, and yeah, I guess that's it.